Konnichiwa.
It's history in the making, and we want you to be part of it.
That's a given.
We're talking about people who are changing the game.
You guys have run a tight ship here. Oh my gosh.
The rock star sitting here.
I can't even describe it.
Talking about actual business.
Two beings at the top of their professions. Lightning quick movements.
Changing
The rock star sitting here. It's just
Hello, my friends, and
started.
welcome back to the Real Value Podcast, a podcast about real estate lending, appraising, marketing, relationships, success, and, well, how it all fits together. My name is Blaine Feyen. I am your host for the Real Value Podcast. No need to beat around the bush today. If you haven't heard yet, Zillow, you know Zillow. Zillow is getting into the lending business, as was announced yesterday. Zillow is buying Mortgage Lenders of America, a Kansas-based mortgage lender that closed, plus or minus 4,400 loans in 2017. And while that is a ton of loans, I don't think any of the appraisers or lenders or realtors who listen to this podcast would argue that 4,400 sides or deals or appraisals is a lot. It is merely a blip on the proverbial screen. However, while everybody in the lending business is screaming bloody murder and exclaiming, "There goes the neighborhood," I've seen that more than a few times. Here at the Real Value Podcast and the Real Value Labs, we try to always focus on what the news is telling us, keep things in perspective. If you listen to this podcast at all, you already have a good sense of who I am and what I'm all about. We look at what the news is telling us, where things are headed, what are the trends to be tuned into, and how can we, as intelligent business people, leverage the information and opportunities for our businesses and for our clients. Now, of course, a constant theme of this podcast, the Real Value Podcast, it's about value, of our training programs, how we coach our trainees, the mastermind groups that we either lead or participate in, and how we try to lead our lives is one of positive recognition of opportunity. Not bitching and complaining about things we can't control. In fact, I talked in my last podcast, the last episode, about stopping the bitching, giving yourself a raise, firing some of your clients, is that I am a huge advocate for not bitching and complaining about things that we can't control. Doesn't mean bitch and complain about the things you can. It just means stop the bitching, focus on what you can control, and change those things. If I've learned anything from my time studying Zen, leadership, defensive tactics training, whatever it is in my past and current, it's that it's far better to be a dispassionate observer of things, a quiet professional, let's call it, taking copious notes about one's surrounding in the background, and training to be prepared to act when the time is right. And what you'll find if you pursue industry forums, comment sections, blogs, Facebook forums, whatever it might be, regardless of whether it's mortgage news, realtor news, or appraiser forums and news, everybody is bitching. Simple, effective, negative, ineffective, I mean. Nothing good coming from it. Everybody prophesying doom and gloom. If they're not mad at Fannie and Freddie, they're pissed off at Quicken Loans and Zillow. When they're not bitching about Trulia and Goldman Sachs, they're bitching about the next political distraction or something they saw on Facebook or whatever it might be. Doesn't seem to take much. But let me explain something, my friends. We live in one of the most prosperous times that has ever existed, and we conduct business in an information age where business is being done at the speed of thought. What one chooses to focus on in any scenario determines what one sees. What doors open or close, what opportunities and choices one has available to them, and ultimately what happens next. There are times to do study and research. There are times to prepare and train. And then there are times to act. And there are times that one has to create their own opportunities in order to survive and thrive. The news that Zillow has just acquired a mortgage company is just that. It's just news. It's information. You may not like it, you may not be happy about it, but you adding emotion to the news does nothing. It's not going to change the situation. It only changes your situation, your office, your home, your car, wherever you're bitching about it. It's just merely information. It's just another set of facts that gets laid at your feet for you to either step on, step over, pick up, put in your pocket, stomp on, groan, moan, or simply ignore. Those choices are yours. What you do with the information is completely up to you. Now, I would suggest, however, that you avoid at all costs jumping into some forum filled with a bunch of negative people. That's mostly where they hang out. A forum with a collective consciousness that spews nothing but lack and doom. Are things changing in all of our industries? You bet. You bet. And super fast. The news that a major online real estate brand, Zillow, has just acquired a mortgage lender is a statement about the speed of information. Just try to look at it without emotion. Don't add emotion to it at all. When you add in emotion to the process, you add in layers of decision-making that are being skewed by that very emotion. Emotion adds an unnecessary layer to every thinking process. It adds an unnecessary layer to the process of deciding what to do with the information. It's like being attacked by bees while you're wearing a heavy sweater and a snow pants. The sweater and the snow pants may offer you some level of protection from the bee stings, but you're going to struggle trying to run away and get to safety. And as you're running away from the bees, you're trying to shed all of the unnecessary clothing so that you can run faster and get the bees off of you. And you're falling along the way. And eventually, you fall to the ground with the sweater half off and the snow pants around your ankles. And you're getting stung by all the bees, unable to get away. That's what adding emotion to a scenario that you can't control is like. I get it. It often feels good to bitch and complain about something. It's like sweating. It feels good to get it out. It's the mind's way of sheltering you from the prospect of possibly having to change, to alter the way you do things. Makes you feel like you have some control in a world where maybe you feel like you don't. However, if change is going to happen, it's going to happen with or without you. Doesn't matter if you're an appraiser, a real estate agent, a mortgage lender. Things are changing. And it's going to change whether you care. It's going to change whether you're on board. And it's going to change whether you change or not. This touches on prior podcasts, maybe more specifically about the Going Mobile podcast. If you haven't listened to that one, listen to that one. That's about speaking to the old guard, so to speak, of real estate appraising. The pen and paper or clipboard and pencil appraiser, which is not a statement at all about their quality, how good they are as an appraiser. It's a statement of somebody who may get stuck or caught behind the lines. Things are changing. They're changing whether you like it or not. Sometimes they're changing in spite of you. In fact, in the appraisal world, if you are able to look at things objectively and without emotion, it's easy to see that much of the change that's occurring in the appraisal world is changing because of appraisers. It's changing because of clipboards and pencils. There's no place for clipboards and pencils in a world that's traveling literally at the speed of light, bits and bytes. There's $5 trillion flying through the air every single day in the currency markets. all in zeros and ones at the speed of light. Fiber optic cables, clouds, satellites. And we're talking paper and pencil, clipboard and pen, tape measures. It's like horse and buggy. So things are changing. And there is absolutely zero things to be gained by bitching about Zillow, Trulia, Quicken Loans, Rocket Mortgages, Fannie, Freddie, the Fed, the President, or anything else that comes across your news feed. It's merely meant to distract. Instead, take a step back. Become an observer. Become a researcher. Learn to read the news with no emotion added in by you. Collect the vital bits of information that the story is telling you. Zillow acquired a mortgage company. Why? Quite simply, they did it as a means to more growth. A profit center, a silo, more control of their profits. Faster processing of loans. What do you mean faster processing of loans, Blaine? It's Zillow. They just spit out Zestimates. No. They're building yet another profit center to add on to what they started a year or two ago, which is buying homes. If you didn't know they were buying homes, they're buying homes. If you followed any of the news over the years, they got into the real estate business some time ago with their home buying program, whereby a homeowner could upload all of their home info to Zillow, like they did before, to just put it, market it. But now they could get an offer directly back from Zillow to buy their home. Zillow does the updates, the repairs, puts the home back on the market for sale. Well, then it makes sense. If that's what they're doing, then having an in-house mortgage division makes sense from that business model, because now they can make the loan decision quickly and reap the additional profits from the lending side of things. They can control almost all sides of the transaction. Is that whole system fraught with problems? Yeah, I'm not here to talk about that. There are other more intelligent people out there who can tell you all of the problems that there might be. In fact, the markets don't necessarily agree with that decision either. If you saw the news, the markets, I think after hours trading, Zillow was down 18% or 16% or something like that. But that was based on sentiment, market sentiment. Their numbers came in a little lower than projections, and the market responded. That's the way the market works. So having an in-house mortgage division when you're buying up homes and reselling them makes complete sense in that business model. Problems will come. But who cares? Does it really matter to you what Zillow is doing inside of their business? I'm not saying that companies like Zillow don't make things difficult for us as appraisers, realtors, mortgage professionals. We all know that they do, and in a variety of ways. What I'm saying, though, is that Zillow is. Bitching about Zillow doesn't make Zillow go away. Bitching about Zillow doesn't make homeowners any less likely to try to get a Zestimate on their home and then tell you why it's worth X, Y, or Z because they went on Zillow. Bitching about it doesn't change what is. It only makes you more upset. Zillow exists, and there's nothing that you and I can do about it. There's nothing you and I can do about its existence. There is something we can do about it. But if there's nothing you can do to make Zillow go out of existence, then the best thing you can do is to first accept that they exist. They do. No matter how upset you get about it, they will still exist tomorrow. Research what they do and how they do it so that you can be better at educating homeowners and or your clients about what you do and how you're the expert, the authority, the preeminent expert in the field. And you do it all without negativity and emotion, baggage. And what do? You win your market, plain and simple. It really is that simple. The takeaway from the most recent news about Zillow acquiring a mortgage company is simply that things are moving very fast and will only get faster. That's my takeaway. I'm not a market prognosticator. I'm not a market forecaster. To some degree, I have to as a real estate appraiser. But since real estate appraisals are primarily always backward looking, not forward looking, unless it's a prospective, it's not my job to forecast what's going to happen a year, 2, 3 from now. But I'm not stupid. I can look at the market, I can see what's going on, and then I have choices. I can get upset about it, I can stomp my feet, I can close my business, I can get on a forum and bitch about things, or I can look at it and go, well, looks like the next iPod's being built. I bring up the iPod because if you were to ask me when the first iPod was being released, if this thing was going to make it, I would have told you, no, this is a silly idea. I do not get it. And I didn't. I totally get it now. How could you not? That's just a commentary on how I'm not a forecaster. And I'm not a market prognosticator. I have a history of being behind when it comes to technology until the last maybe 5-7 years. Meaning figuring out if something is going to work or not. But then again, who could have predicted Facebook? Who could have predicted Twitter at the time? Who could have predicted Uber? Some did, and some got really wealthy doing it. And I've heard of others who were presented the idea and laughed at it and turned it down. So in doing a little more research on Zillow and Zillow acquiring a mortgage company, I came across some articles, and there was a recent roundtable discussion between, I think it was four kind of C-level heads of large mortgage and or real estate companies. And then there was a fifth who was a moderator. They were company leaders, let's call them, discussing what's next for the mortgage industry. That was the title of the article of this panel. What's next for what do you see coming down the pike? When asked what was next for them in the next 3 to 5 years, one of them replied, and I quote, "We are taking what we know about how a car loan is done, how simplistic that is interconnected from all these different areas to create the 8-day close." So let me say that again. This was the head of a large, very large mortgage company. And what he sees 3 to 5 years from now, based on their research of the auto loan industry and how it's so interconnected, from running your credit to checking your FICO scores to your ability to repay the loan, your bank statements and everything. It's like that. Doesn't take 8 days, it takes an hour. But they're looking at it from the mortgage side and saying, all this stuff is interconnected so well in the auto loan business. We're looking how to do that. We're looking how to bring it to the mortgage side to create the 8-day close. A little longer than one business week, business week and a half. He's talking about closing a real estate deal in 8 days. People find the house, they make an offer, gets accepted. 8 days later, they have the keys. Another one of the gentlemen said, this is important for appraisers to hear, the whole industry is trying to figure out data and information. There are a couple of holes. The average age of a loan appraiser is 175, and they're not making them anymore. Yes, folks, he really said that. That was the quote. I'll read it again. The whole industry is trying to figure out data and information. We know this as appraisers, right? The UAD portal, collateral underwriting, Fannie's day one certainty, all the data they're collecting from our appraisals. He said the whole industry is trying to figure out data and information. But he said there are a couple of holes. And by holes, he means tripping points, things that are sticking them up, holding them up. One of those holes being that the average age of a loan appraiser is 175, his words. And they're not making them anymore. Now, when you hear that, what happens inside of you? Did you just freak out and say, that's stupid, that's ridiculous, I'm booked out 2, 3, 4 weeks as it is, and now they want to get me to do an appraisal in 1 to 2 days so they can close their loan in 8 days? I'm out. And to that I say, good, go. Not because I want to scramble to do an appraisal in a day. I'm not advocating that, although we do them. But because I'm quite happy to see those that would react to their environment in that way move on. It's okay. I've observed it in every business and industry I've ever started, built, run, consulted, or simply observed. Those that can take in information, understand what it means for them in their business, potentially see or create their own opportunity, create some kind of advantage, leverage, pivot quickly and evolve, those are the leaders that are still in business today. Those that stand around and bitch about all the changes, well, those are like the poor souls who stand on the beach, staring at the huge wave that's building a mile out in the ocean. The elephants and all the other land animals are headed for the hills, headed for high ground, signaling some kind of danger, while you frolic in the surf as a 30-foot wall of water heads your way. By the way, that's called a tsunami, and it's devastating. Those unaware of the danger, those who sit and bitch, and those who simply deny what's happening are the ones swept away when the tsunami lands. Well, the tsunami's been building for some time, my friends. It's been building and giving us clues to its imminent arrival. The clues, by the way, are named Amazon, Apple, Microsoft, Alexa, Google, Day One Certainty, Zillow, Collateral Underwriter, UAD Portal, Bitcoin, Litecoin, Verge, Monero, blockchain, SpaceX, Tesla, AI, artificial intelligence, Sophia. If you're not familiar with Sophia and AI, Google it. The list goes on and on and on. All of these things are signs of change, rapid change. You're not going to change those things. They're already here. In fact, they're probably already vastly more developed than what we even know. Those who accept what is and not stand around wishing it was some other way will always get swept away by change. Again, it's called evolution. You either adapt or die. I should say that a different way. Those who don't accept what they see coming will always get swept away. Those who accept what is will be able to flow with the change. It's not whether or not you're strong enough or big enough to survive. In fact, being big often means death when change occurs, because big can mean difficult and slow to change, to turn and pivot, to adapt, to change with the trends. So look, my friends, it doesn't matter if you're in the real estate industry, the mortgage industry, or the real estate appraisal industry. All of these things are simply facts. Facts about what is going on in our collective worlds. I'm not a fatalist. I'm not a nihilist. I don't relish seeing industries destroyed. But what I am is a realist and an adapter and an opportunity creator. I do believe we have some time left to adapt and evolve. I heard one podcaster last week, I think it was maybe a little older podcast, but talking about Fannie and Day One Certainty and those kind of things and bitching about it, which I understand. All of those things are potentially property inspection waivers. That's what it was. Those of you who aren't familiar, there is a new thing out there called PIWs, or property inspection waivers, whereby some homes become eligible for a property inspection waiver, which is basically an appraisal waiver. Based on a variety of factors, Fannie will kick out a score that says, this home is eligible for a property inspection waiver. Everybody hit the fan. You would have thought somebody just took a dump in their soup. Property inspection waivers mean in some areas, some homes are eligible for an appraisal waiver. Okay. Fine. What are you going to do? Sell your business? Get into manufacturing? Become a home inspector? What do you want to do? It is. They've just announced it. Are you going to get on a forum and start bitching about Fannie Mae? Send a letter? You can. I'm not saying don't. Call your congressman. I'm not going to spend 1 minute of time worrying about, bitching about, foruming on, Facebooking. No, you research it. Anybody who's researched it, which I'm sure very few have, if you read the property inspection waiver situation, says that based on these scores, the home may become eligible for a property inspection waiver. However, it's up to the lender to decide then if they'll allow the property inspection waiver, if they're going to recommend still getting an appraisal. Maybe the lender says, cool, you're eligible for a property inspection waiver, let's do it. I've had deals canceled. I've had orders canceled because all of a sudden it came through and they said, hey, they're eligible for an appraisal waiver. Cool. It didn't change what I ordered for lunch. It didn't change my day one bit. I hadn't spent that money. I didn't make my house payment with it. Didn't change my day. Shouldn't change yours. Now, I understand. I don't want to be too glib because I know there are markets, there are appraisers where property inspection waivers could end up making up representing more of your business than it would mine. In my market, it hasn't been a big deal, and I don't see it being a big deal. But I have seen them here already. Now, I will say the same podcaster I thought did a great job explaining it and also presenting the problems with the property inspection waiver, because now with property inspection waivers, it's putting a lot of the liability onto the loan originators or the loan companies, as well as the real estate agents. If they're advising people to not get a proper valuation on the home, well, what happens a year, 2, 3 down the road if the market changes and now their home isn't worth what they thought it was worth and nobody advised them to get an appraisal? Basically, the liability is falling on the lender and the real estate agent. Good. It's time they shared in some of the liability. I'm getting off track with the property inspection waivers, but I wanted to use that as a point of things that are coming down the pike. We have information, research it. Just read. And then try to take that information, look out into the market, see how likely it is, see what's happening, and then make decisions as a result. Again, this particular podcaster had some great ideas about how you can leverage that into coming up with different products or different services to offer the market. If somebody gets a property inspection waiver and their real estate agent and their lender advise them not to get an appraisal because it's waived, hey, you just saved $400, $500, $600. You can market to those people to properly value their home. They may want that. Or they may be calling you a year from now. If you had that order like I did and then it got an appraisal waiver, you would do like what we did and write down that address. And then you can market to them 3, 4, 6 months down the line. What about when they want to refi? Do they get another property inspection waiver? Or then do they need an appraisal? See, there are problems with it. There are things that will pop up. And by the way, for the industry head in this particular panel that said appraisers, the average age of a loan appraiser is 175 years old, he's not incorrect. He's being facetious. He just means that a lot of them are older, ready to retire, maybe he's saying. He's referring, of course, facetiously to the clipboard and pencil appraiser. That's who he's referring to. The holes in the system. They are making new ones, by the way. I don't know about your state, but in my state, they just changed the licensing standards, where the pendulum swung one way after the meltdown in 07, 08. Of course, they changed a lot of the requirements where, of course, you had to have a college degree, and they changed the hour requirements, and they changed the class time requirements. They made it much more difficult, and there virtually were very few, little to no new appraisers coming into the business. Well, now they've just announced they've swung back the other way, which is typical of government thinking. And now you only need 6 months and 1,000 hours to become a state licensed real estate appraiser. So, of course, that's something to look at and something to think about, because they are now trying to flood the market with. They're trying to make it much easier. They've lowered the bar considerably to becoming a real estate appraiser. We've had it good for many years where we had a closed market. All the business was ours. Now they're going to try to flood the market with poorly trained real estate appraisers who've only had 6 months worth of training and 1,000 hours, which is nowhere near enough. And we know what happens when trainees get their state license. They flee. Some of them, if you don't have agreements or a good corporate atmosphere for them to stay in, or enough business for them. But many of them, that's their aspiration when they get in. So they are out there now in the world, and they get their name on the list, they become part of the rotation, and you're competing to some degree with that new appraiser. So that is part of the plan, and the plan is information. I'm not going to get upset about it. I'm taking in the information. I'm not adding emotion to it. And I'm trying to determine what this all means. And one of the things that I think it means is that they are going to try to flood the market with a bunch of new, poorly trained appraisers who will accept a much lower fee for the same work that we're doing for maybe double or triple the fee. Nevertheless, all of these things are simply facts. Zillow, facts about what is going on in our collective worlds. So what I know is a fact is that things are changing. You can change the change, but you have the opportunity to adapt and flow with some of the changes. I mean, I should have said you can't change the change, but you can adapt and flow with the changes. And I can assure you that with every change, big or small, there's always new opportunities. There's always new opportunities for those with a mind and an attitude to see, to observe, to identify, and then to take advantage of or create new business models, new ways to profit from the perceived change. You simply have to decide which one of those you'll be. For my appraiser colleagues and friends, there's no doubt whatsoever, change is afoot. You're either starting to adapt and evolve, or you're one of those 175-year-old appraisers that says, you can have my tape measure when you pry it from my cold, dead hands. And while I get it, I'm not going to be one of them. And I encourage all of you not to be either. That means getting on board with technology. It means get off those stupid forums, unless they're positive or unless you're adding something positive. There is some good information in some of them. They can just be a kind of a negative hangout. Be an encourager. Be the appraiser in the market that your clients want to refer. You're either adding value or you're taking it away. Be the one that adds. There are many opportunities to begin adapting immediately. One of them, of course, is to be utilizing mobile tools. We've talked about this. Did a whole podcast on it. If you're still pen and paper, you're standing on the beach staring at the big wave. I don't care about your reasons. I don't care about your justifications. This, by the way, is the defensive tactics instructor, the Aikido instructor in me. I try to be, I'm a positive individual and I'm an uplifter. But when it comes to people's excuses, I don't care. And I will say it as such. I don't care. I don't care about your excuses. I don't care about your justifications. Somebody can tell you what is and say, look, there's the big wave. It's coming. Yeah, but I want to stay in the sun and I want to stay on the beach. I don't care. You're going to die. So I'm trying to express it in a way that snaps people out of their complacency and all the rules that they typically come up with and justifications for why I still carry around a folder and a clipboard and a pen, and what are you going to do when they come for your work file? It's all digitally saved, my friend. It's all there. And probably in better condition than yours. And I bet I can access mine quicker too. If it's a year-old file, good luck going through your file cabinets and your boxes down in the basement. I get it. I've done it for years. For every excuse, there's a good solid reason why we've all gone mobile. Why we're using technology, why we're leveraging laser measuring devices and tablet technology, satellite technology. We can use photometrics to draw a sketch of a complicated house. It means photos, as long as you have the scale of the photograph, you can measure out a home from the top from a photograph from above. We have drones now. You can use drone technology. I know many won't. I've seen that in the forums as well. Many won't. Many don't get it. Somebody will post something, a great idea, ask a question. Hey, is anybody else doing this? And you'll get a lot of it. I don't see any point in doing that. I don't see what the purpose is. Oh, now more liability. All good questions to ask, but don't add the emotion. Keep your mind open to new ideas. Don't stand on the beach and stare at the wave. Nobody cares about your complaints about technology, nor does the market and nor will your clients. None of it matters when the wave hits. And I can guarantee that not one of your clients cares that you use graph paper and a mechanical pencil and a 100-foot old school tape measure or a measuring wheel. Not one of them. Nobody's going around town saying, oh, that great appraiser I use, he still uses a wheel and a clipboard and he's really good, so use him or her. No, they don't care. Doesn't make you a bad appraiser. It just means you might be standing on the beach when the wave hits. You're adding zero value to the process just by clinging to those things. You're adding value to the process because of your knowledge and experience in the market, and maybe your process's methodology and rationale, but not because you're still using a clipboard and graph paper. Zero. They might not care right now how you get the work done, your clients, because you're a good appraiser. You get the job done. But understand you've added zero value, and we live in a value economy. It's based on speed, and it's based on adding value to the process. And you're adding zero to it by sticking to pen and paper or clipboard and pencil. You might as well be using a chisel and a stone tablet. You can complain and justify it all you want, but like a child throwing a tantrum in the Walmart checkout line, eventually you just get scooped up, thrown into the cart, taken out into the parking lot, and paddled. And you get nothing. And by paddled, of course, I mean the competitors in your market who are utilizing mobile tools, utilizing software to do regression analysis and filling their reports with market data from around the internet, ultimately completing awesome, very good reports, well supported. They very quickly lead the market. Of course, there's a whole nother aspect to this. Websites, social media, marketing, language, scripting, understanding all these aspects that are setting appraisers apart. The other thing to think about for the 175-year-olds is this new wave of appraisers that's going to be coming into the market in 6 months, potentially a much younger crowd, potentially a much more tech-savvy crowd, potentially a much more mobile savvy, marketing savvy, web savvy, SEO savvy. If you're not sure what that is, it's search engine optimization. Computer savvy, programming savvy. Did I already say marketing savvy? Script savvy, speaking savvy? Not guaranteed, but could be. And when you're dealing with people who are salespeople, realtors and mortgage lenders, then you are dealing with people who like to be spoken to like they speak to other people. And unfortunately, very rarely does the appraiser speak like they speak. It's already happening, my friends. It's happening right behind me. You can't see it all on the camera, but I've talked before about this is my home office, but in all of our offices, we use multiple screens, we use computer programs, we use software to do regression analysis. We fill up our reports with lots of market data, lots of graphs, lots of support. We've taken lots of courses on narrative report writing and narrating and explaining our rationale in our reports. We use tablets, we use cameras, we send out thank you notes in our market to our clientele. We speak every single week to a real estate group, mortgage lending group, somewhere. We're producing content like this. This is real estate appraisal in 2018. We're utilizing data entry and support staff in remote locations, virtual assistants, if you will. Using the cloud to gather and store data. And we're speeding up the process with no loss whatsoever in quality, no loss whatsoever in credibility and supportable information. In fact, I would venture a guess to say that our reports have gotten better because of technology and the information that we put into our reports. It's, in fact, never been more supported, given that we can literally have up-to-the-minute reports about market trends, yield curves, interest rates, home sales around the country, markets booming and busting, ground contamination threats, basically tsunamis heading our way. I apologize for my lawn service that's just arrived. But these are just some of the ways we are and have been adapting to changes. There are more changes heading our way as appraisers, for sure. There are more changes heading toward real estate agents. In fact, I just saw a video not too long ago where the gentleman predicted one of the professions that will be gone in 10 years is real estate agent. I'm not sure I agreed with his rationale for why, and I won't go into why he said they'll be gone. One of the reasons was things like Zillow, big data. But I imagine if he's predicting real estate agents will be gone, appraisers were long gone before the real estate agents. Big change headed for the mortgage industry. It's always changing. Staying ahead of the curve by researching information without emotion is one of the keys to survival. Not everybody can do it. I get it. I understand. That's one of the reasons we do some of the research for you. But I highly recommend, if you're going to develop a new skill, this is the skill to develop. If you are to survive and adapt, you must be able to take in information, process it without adding emotion to it. Don't spend even 1 minute bitching and complaining about it. Take in the information, understand what it means, attempt to interpret what it means for you and your business, and from there, you can spot or create opportunities to dominate in your market. Without that ability, however, Again, I fear that you may be swept away when the waves start to come ashore. Nobody is coming to save you. Nobody is going to rescue you. Nobody is going to coddle you and tell you everything will be okay. It will be okay, but probably not how you're hoping I mean when I say it's going to be okay. I'm not here to tell you everything will be okay. Don't do anything. 5 years from now, 10 years, we'll still be real estate appraisers. No, I'm saying it's going to be okay. But it's going to be okay from the standpoint that whatever becomes the next new normal will eventually just be considered okay. It's like saying, I'm going to do something, but I'm going to do it in the future. Well, we know you're never going to do it because the future is tomorrow. And when tomorrow gets here, you'll rename the next day the future. So every day that arrives, you're always renaming the next day the future. The future never comes. And then all of a sudden you look back and you go, wow, there's the past. That went fast. So it will be okay, but it will be a new okay than what you're thinking today. That's how okay works. We've entered the new economy where speed is the primary driving force, where the 8-day close is right around the corner, where real-time appraisals are right around the corner. It doesn't mean quality's gone out the window. It simply means speed is important and becoming more important. Google operates based on a speed algorithm. Page load times for your website, super important for Google. How quickly they deliver results based on your search. Of course, the quality of the results is important to them, but they're looking for speed. How quickly can we go out and find Britney Spears tour information? Boop, just like that. Amazon delivers your stuff in 2 days. That's quick. Tesla goes from 0 to 60 in 3.2 seconds. And banks are looking to close loans in 8 days in the future. So what are you going to do with that information? Don't worry about Zillow, folks. Nothing to worry about. And again, I don't mean that in a coddling sense. It's okay, don't worry. I mean, worry does nothing for your business. There's nothing to worry about. Take in the information, interpret it properly, look out at your market, figure out what you're going to do to be the preeminent real estate appraiser in your market, get up to speed with mobile technology, do it and do it today. Quit giving us all of your excuses why you can't. I got too frustrated with the tablet, so I just went back to my phone. I get it. I did the same thing. But I'm here to tell you because I do read, I do study, I do research. If you don't, you'll be gone quicker than the rest of us. It will be a natural weeding out process. It's been occurring for years, and it's just going to, the rapidity, the speed of it is going to pick up exponentially. Again, if we have mortgage lenders talking about an 8-day close 3 to 5 years from now, the reality is it's probably 1 to 2 years away. That's how things work in a digital world. We must change. Take in information, do it without emotion, interpret, create opportunities. Thank you for listening to the Real Value Podcast, my friends. My name is Blaine Feyen, and I appreciate the time that we've spent together today. I hope that I've given you some value with this episode, but of course, it's definitely up to you to mine the information, take what I've thrown out there, and determine what that means for you if there's any value. You have to mine it for the nuggets if they're there, wherever you are in your life or business. Thanks again for coming. We'll talk to you on the next one. See you at the next episode.